What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how I process and treat my vocals. A few of you on Discord suggested that I make a video on this, so if you want to be a part of that, there's a link down in the description for that. Anyway, but today we're going to be working in the project file for my new song Camp, which just came out. If you haven't heard it already, you should go check it out. It's pretty sweet. Anyway, so this is a fairly large project file. Everything in pink is just vocals, so there's quite a bit to work with, but I'm going to be focusing on how I process my lead vocals. So I'm going to be soloing out this vocal right here.
Grab me a bottle and shoot at the sun. Tell me a story, cut half of the drum. I won't tell you this shit isn't fun. Selling all your love, it won't get you off.
So I'm going to be breaking down each of the effects that I use and whether or not you should use them in your own setup. This is a fairly large vocal chain, and you can even see some of the effects aren't actually even being used, which we can actually close these guys out. Sometimes I'll have like extra effects set in just in case if I need to, like for situational use. But let's start at the beginning. So at the beginning of my vocal chains, I like to add a de-esser, and obviously it's good for getting rid of sibilants and all those harsh S sounds, but the reason why I put it at the very beginning of my vocal chain is actually to help out with my autotune. Because getting rid of those harsh frequencies actually helps pick up the pitch better. So I definitely recommend putting a de-esser before you have any pitch modulation plugins just to help out with that tracking. And then I use this plugin right here called Butch Vig Vocals, which is a Waves plugin. This is basically just a glorified compressor and EQ. This interface looks really crazy, but honestly, I just use the preset for pop vocal. They do have quite a few decent presets in here, like they'll have distortion.
Grab me a bottle and shoot at the
So it just makes it really easy for you if you need like a quick preset. I use the pop 2 vocal though.
Grab me a bottle and shoot at the sun.
The main reason why I like it is just because it has these really easy to use vocal knobs. Not vocal knobs, EQ knobs, but this is not really necessary at all. This is just extra de-esser and a little bit of extra compression. That's about it, and then just like a boost on the highs. But yeah, this isn't really necessary. This is just me being extra. So yeah. Anyway, after that, I have a compressor here, and it's set to 80% on the dry or wet. This is just to keep the vocal even and not jumping around too much as far as dynamics goes. But then following that, we have an EQ, which I mainly use just to shape to my own voice. The EQ is kind of, up to personal taste. I have it cutting out at around 4,000 hertz and 10,000 hertz. And that was just, areas where my microphone and my voice were kind of piercing through the mix. So that just helps soften up my voice a little bit. And then the next thing I have on it is another EQ. And this is just really to add bass into my voice because without any of these effects, my voice is very flat and quiet. But this just helps add bass into my voice and also a little bit more highs back into it after I softened it. This again, kind of over the top, not really needed, but that's just how I decided to do that for this project file. And then after that, I have a reverb with a very short decay time. This is just to help add some presence to your voice and to make it not sound as isolated, I guess is the best way to put it. I can show you before and after.
Grab me a bottle and shoot at the sun. Tell me a story, cut half of the drum. I won't tell you this shit isn't fun.
Right.
Selling all your love.
So, it's a subtle effect, but if you have headphones on, you'll probably be able to hear a difference, hopefully. Yeah, and then after that, I have my final EQ.
Grab me a bottle and shoot at the sun.
And this is just to help shaping with my mic and with all of the past or with all the previous effects. This is just like a generalized help shape my voice. There's a lot of low end that I ended up wanting to get rid of,
I'll
but
tell you the
generally I push my vocals higher up around 12,000 hertz, just like as a little bump in that area, and that just helps with like adding presence to your voice. A general tip that I would suggest is that at the end of your vocal chain, it's just to always find the lowest note.
a bottle and shoot at the sun. Tell me a story, cut half of the drum.
So I would say right
Half
here.
of the drum.
Is just to find where the lowest note is and then bring your cut all the way up to that. just to get rid of any extra rumble or unnecessary things in the recording. This just helps clean it up. I do this for all of mine, especially when we start getting into doubles, where I'll definitely pull down the bass a lot, just so that they don't overwhelm each other. And then at the very end, I have a final compressor, and this is just to kind of bring everything back together
Grab me a bottle.
and just level out the vocal in general. So with all of that said, this is what it sounds like in the mix.
Grab me a bottle and shoot at the sun. Tell me a story, get half of the drum. I won't tell you this shit isn't fun. Selling all your love, it won't get you off. I don't wanna be stuck.
All right, and this is what it actually sounds like without any effects.
Grab me a bottle and shoot at the sun. Tell me a story, cut half of the drum. I won't tell you this shit isn't fun. Selling all your love, it won't get you off.
Right, so pretty big difference. But that's generally how I do most of my vocals. Sometimes I'll use Melodyne. It's basically just a more in-depth auto-tune where you can get really technical with everything and change the way your voice pitch drifting. You can change the syllables and the exact pitch of everything. That's definitely not necessary. But I wanted to show you guys actually how I process group vocals. So if we switch over into another project file, this is not something that is released, but this was just more like vocal practice for myself. But I think that this can give you guys some good insight on how I do vocal layerings, like giant stacks. So these are the vocal layers I'm gonna be showing you guys.
I just wanna start a new day. Sun shining on my head. Take a little time to hold your head up. I'll be there, it's true, 'cause I'm with you.
Okay. So just to get into it a little bit, I've split everything up into pieces. So all of the blues are categorized for bass, and some of these are actually very much pitch shifted, like this one right here, right? Because I can never hit that. But these ones are real. These ones are right. You get the D. Those are that's my best ability of trying to be a bass. But then these are like the tenors, sort of. And then we have like altos and sopranos. Right. So lots of layers. But all of these actually are fairly lightly treated. So they each all have their own little auto tunes going with a pretty low return speed of 30. And that's just to help with any mistakes that I might have made. And then they each get their own EQ, or 2 EQs actually, just to help shape the actual vocal. So I have just a straight low cutoff for whatever notes I'm hitting, just so that there's no like rumble underneath all these. And then I have a second EQ that helps actually shape the sample that we're working with. And then after all of that, we have a light amount of multi-band compression, and that's just to help kind of even out everything. And then over all of the vocals on the bus channel, we have a multi-band compressor that is just going through everything and just kind of mushing all of the vocals together, which helps blend it out a lot. And then we have a sculptor, which this is a dynamic EQ, and this is just adding polish. I mean, that's what the preset is set to, but right, so you can see the way that's working, where it's basically set up to have like a curve preset, and it's just kind of pushing the EQ in that general direction. So that just helps with like the overall tone. So basically 3 forms of compression. And then we have a Pro R, just a giant reverb. Right, and without it, so just add space to it. And then we have an EQ that is just taking a dip around in the mids, because each of these vocals has a lot of frequencies in that general area, so this just helps kind of even out the overall tone. Yeah, so this is with all of that on and then without it.
I just wanna start a new day. Take a little time to hold your head up. I'll be there. It's true, 'cause I'm with you.
But yeah, that was how I processed my lead vocals and how I process my vocal layers. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you so much for watching, and go listen to Camp because it's pretty good. I'll catch y'all later.
Open